The next portion that we're going to deal with is 5.4b. Okay. So unit 5.4b. And what we're working on for this one is just simplify complex numbers. Okay, so just simplify complex numbers. There are 6 examples. Okay. For number 1, I would like you to simplify 4 over 6 minus I plus 3 over 6 minus I. Now, if I ask you to simplify, these are basically just fractions. Before you can add 2 fractions together, what do they have to have? Common denominator. Do these have a common denominator? Yes. So just add them together. 4 plus 3 gives you 7 over 6 minus I. Now that we've added them together, can I leave this as an answer?
No.
No. How do I get rid of that in the denominator? Multiply by the conjugate, so 6 plus I times 6 plus I. Okay, distribute in the numerator, so distribute in the top. That would give you 42 plus 7I. In the denominator, we would FOIL, okay? If you FOIL these together, what do we get? 36 plus 6I minus 6I minus I squared. Okay, the middle parts cancel. And then if I simplify further, I'd still get 42 plus 7I in your numerator over 36, what? Minus negative 1. So that becomes plus 1. So when you simplify fully, you get 42 plus 7I over 37. Okay, and you could leave your answer just like that, or if you separate it to be 2 separate fractions, that is fine as well. Okay, and you will see answers written both ways, so make sure you understand that they are comparable. Okay, either way is acceptable. Okay, so just simplify. Try another one. Number 2, I'd like you to simplify 7 over 2 plus I plus 8 over 3I. 7 over 2 plus I plus 8 over 3I. Yes. I'm fine with it like this, but I don't want you trying to reduce anything. If you try to reduce anything, then I want them written separately. But you're fine to leave them alone, or leave them all as one fraction. You can write it the other way. Yeah. Either way is fine. It's a little bit easier for people to see if something can reduce there correctly if you split it up, but it's not.
What if we're too lazy to reduce it?
Then it will be wrong. But thanks. Okay, here, these are different denominators, so how do I get, what is my common denominator going to be?
6.
Okay, now, 2 different ways you could do this. You could first get a common denominator, or we could first rationalize the denominator. Okay? We're going to rationalize the denominator first in this one, largely because we don't have a common denominator to begin with. So I'm going to get rid of the i's, because once you get rid of the i's, it's just numbers, and it's a lot easier to convert things to be just numbers to find a common denominator as opposed to i's. So how do I get rid of the i's in the first fraction? What do you multiply by? The conjugate, so 2 minus I over 2 minus I. What are you going to multiply by in the second fraction? What do you have to multiply by to get rid of that?
3i.
Do you have to multiply by 3? Is there anything wrong with having a 3 in the bottom? Just multiply by I, okay? It's easier. You're not going to have to deal with such big numbers. You could multiply by 3i, but it just makes bigger numbers and you'd have to reduce the n. So there's kind of no point there. Okay, so if you multiply in the top, we got 14 minus 7i over, FOIL in the bottom, that's 4 plus 2i minus 2i minus I squared plus 8i over 3i squared. Okay, simplify. So these 2i's cancel out. that's going to leave us with 14 minus 7i over 4 plus 1, right? So over 5. Did we follow how I got to the 5? Okay. Plus 8i over a negative 3. Now, when you write this, I would prefer that you write the negative at the top. Okay, it'll be a little bit easier for you in the future. Now that we have these two fractions, it's a little easier to find what my common denominator will be. What's the common denominator between 5 and 3? 15. So to get there, I'd multiply the first one by 3 over 3. Multiply the second one by 5 over 5. So that's why if you have different denominators to begin with, you want to rationalize first, because then it's a lot easier to find your common denominator as opposed to finding it with i's. Yes?
Can you rationalize them separately? Or
They are separately. Yes, we're rationalizing them separately. You don't multiply both of them by the exact same thing. Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah. No, you do not multiply both of them by the exact same thing. Yes, Jenny. How do I get negative 8 here? Okay, 3i squared. I squared becomes a negative 1. So you would put a negative here, right? But it's easier if we put it with the numerator, with the top. Okay? So I'm just going to put it with the top. Okay, now go ahead and multiply. So 3 times 14 gives you 42 minus 21i. Now, is it okay to write this over one big fraction? Yes, because I'm getting the same denominator. So you might as well put them all over one big fraction. Okay? And it's over 15. And then negative 8i times 5 gives you minus 40i. Then you can combine like terms. So 42 minus 40, what did I do here? 61, thank you. Over 15. Okay. Then these, I do want you to simplify. Okay. How can you simplify that? Set them up separately. Okay, so do 42 over 15 minus 61i over 15. Then you can reduce. So, can 42 over 15 reduce?
Yep.
Yes, and what does that reduce to be?
14 over 5.
14 over 5 minus, can you reduce 61 over 15? No. Minus 61i over 15. Okay, that will count, or that will cut down on any problems you might have with reducing if you separate them. Okay, because a lot of people are, they want to just cancel out the front numbers, and you can't do that. Okay, so you can't just cancel out the fronts. You have to separate them before you can reduce. Okay, let's try another one like this because I know it's a little bit challenging. Why do you have to do what? Okay, I want you to try 4 plus I over 2 plus I minus 6 plus I over 7 minus I. 4 plus I over 2 plus I minus 6 plus I over 7 minus I. I know you guys don't like these. Okay, do I want to get a common denominator first, or do I want to rationalize first? Rationalize. Okay. If I rationalize, what am I going to multiply by the first fraction? 2 minus I. Okay, over 2 minus I. In your second fraction, you want to multiply by 7 plus I over 7 plus I. Okay. Go ahead and FOIL in the top. This is why it's important that you do the whole FOIL and not just the first and the last, because in the top here, that's not going to cancel out. Okay, so FOIL those together. That gives you 8. Outsides is minus 4i. Insides is plus 2i. And last is minus I squared over, FOIL these together, we got 4 minus 2i plus 2i minus I squared. Subtract, FOIL these tops together, 42 plus 6i plus 7i plus I squared over, FOIL the denominator, 49 plus 7i minus 7i minus I squared. Now, you can clean a whole bunch of this stuff up, okay? Here, the two i's are going to cancel. What happens here is we got a minus negative 1. So really, this becomes 4 plus 1, okay? Because the minus negative cancels itself out, so that becomes plus 1. What happens in the top here? This negative I squared becomes a what? This cancels out, and it really becomes a plus 1. Okay. What can we get rid of here? The 7 i's cancel. Negative I squared goes away. So really this becomes 49 plus 1 in the denominator. I'm just rewriting it so we can all see it a little bit better. And then same thing here. I squared goes away. So this actually becomes a minus 1 in the top. Okay, so if you clean all this stuff up, okay, clean a whole bunch of stuff up there. This is really 8 plus 1, so 9, negative 4i plus 2i minus 2i over 4 plus 1 is 5, minus, where did I get negative what?
Negative 1.
Which negative 1?
On the top and
Right here? Plus 1i squared, or plus I squared. I squared becomes negative 1. Okay. Then 42 minus 1 is really 41. 6i plus 7i gives you plus 13i over 49 plus 1 is 50. Now it's a lot easier to get a common denominator. What will your common denominator be? 50. So all you have to do is multiply the first fraction by 10 over 10. You do not need to multiply the second fraction. Okay? So really we have 90 minus 20i over 50 minus 41 plus 13i over 50. Now, be careful here because this negative distributes. Okay? This negative goes to both of those, not just the 41. Okay? So if you look at this, what is 90 minus 41? 49. Negative 20i minus 13i gives you negative 33i all over 50. And that's your answer. So yes, these are challenging problems. Yes. Hey, listen.
When you get the negative 1,
Uh-huh.
how do you...
Up here.
Yeah, and on the bottom go 49 plus 1. Why is it plus 1?
Because this was negative I squared. Negative 1 becomes a positive. This was plus I squared, so it just stays negative when you convert it. Okay, one more thing that you're going to do